Thank you for tuning in to the Preferable Podcast, Season 2, Episode 20. I Have a Dream, Part 2. Of course, I am your host, Jayden Watkins. I'm so happy to get this episode started with you all and go ahead and wrap up Season 2. Yes, we are wrapping up Season 2. Out of this episode, we have one more episode left, and these Season 2 with all the guests that have come on has been amazing, and I hope you enjoyed it and was encouraged. This is Season 2, Episode 20, I Have a Dream, Part 2. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or phone. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. This is an Anchor ad. Again, thank you for tuning in to this podcast, the Preferable Podcast. Like I said, this is going to be one of the last episodes for Season 2. Then I'll see you all back on here in April with a brand new season. Yes, it's time to go ahead and wrap this season up and go in the time of rest. Well, the topic for today, I Have a Dream. Well, the episode title, I Have a Dream Part 2, like I said, with the topic of I Have a Dream. Now, I don't know when you all are listening to this episode, but right now, tomorrow is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And most of us probably have heard of Martin Luther King Jr., who have played a major role in the civil rights movement. Now, most of the time, people such as Martin or Rosa or someone, you hear the same names over and over again, but it has been so many people who have played a role in bringing us to this day. And for us to have the America that we live in today is still not perfect, and it might not ever be perfect, but we can continue to aim for America to be more diverse and for the civil rights movement to expand, that we as people be able to have our rights but still be under the law. Okay? So I Have a Dream. I Have a Dream is a public speech that was delivered by American civil rights activist and Baptist minister Martin Luther King Jr. During the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. It was on August 28th, 1963. In the speech, King called for civil and economic rights, and to basically end racism in the United States. Over years and years, people have recited his speech and quoted it many times. The main themes in the I Have a Dream speech include freedom for Black Americans, peaceful protests, and hope for the future. Freedom for Black Americans despite the promises of the Declaration of Independence. Black Americans are continually denied freedom, as well as other races, but specifically Dr. King were focused on African Americans. One thing that Dr. Martin Luther King said in his speech was, I have a dream that one day every valley shall be engulfed, which engulfed means being completely surrounded, soaked, or covered in. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be engulfed, every hill shall be exalted, and every mountain shall be made low. So basically, King was saying that he wants this America where we all have equal rights, where we all accept people for who they are, their race, their color, their basically gender. Mountains shall be made low, the rough places will be made plains, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. In this statement, he was basically saying, I have a dream. I have a dream. He kept on saying it over and over again. I have a dream. And the more he said, I have a dream, the more he described what he wanted the dream to be, what he wanted to come to pass. King's dream speech would play an important role in helping pass the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the pivotal Selma to Montgomery March that he led in 1965 would provide momentum for the passage later that year of the Voting Rights Act. So basically, King was paving the way for other people to continue to allow African Americans to have more rights. A little after this speech, the Voting Rights Act was passed, but some states still deny African Americans the right to vote, even though the law had passed. One, some people didn't know. Two, it really was not enforced. The president really didn't push states and governors to push it. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is known around the world as one of the most significant leaders of the civil rights movement. In the 1950s and 1960s, King and many others fought to end racial segregation, which means separate public facilities for blacks and whites. In the southern United States, and discrimination against African Americans, it has been 59 years to date since Martin Luther King had given the I Have a Dream speech. A man named Clarence Jones was Martin Luther King Jr.'s draft speechwriter. Often people talk about Martin Luther King did this, Martin Luther King wrote an amazing speech, but he had a draft writer, and we don't really mention people such as that, but they played a major role in making sure this speech was what it was. Mr. Clarence Jones, who helped King write his I Have a Dream speech. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that we have come a long way since Martin gave his I Have a Dream speech? Do you think we have started to apply what he said? Has it started to come to pass? How this beloved community actually happened yet? Has it evolved? Has it happened? Has it come to pass what he wished and dreamed for? I would say my answer is yes, we have come a long way. We have made progress and still is making progress, even though sometimes it seems like we're stepping back instead of stepping forward. So we have to hold on to the progress basically that we have already attained. Some may ask, why does Martin Luther King repeat I Have a Dream? The strongest way Martin Luther King Jr. uses that is by repeating the title of his speech, I Have a Dream. Through this repetition, he is able to portray what he envisions as a racially equal America. The repetition makes people think about their own dreams and allow them to be inspired by Dr. King's dreams. What dreams do you have? What do you want America to be like after you are gone, for maybe your children, or maybe your niece or nephew, or maybe your family line in the future? Where do you want them to live in the same America we live in? Of course, they're not going to live in the same America we lived in because things change every day. But do you want them to live in a better or worse? So most of the time we say better. I hope you said better too. But how are you going to be that change? We can all help make that dream come alive. Some even may ask, why is repetition used in I Have a Dream? The repetition, I'm going to say it again, serves as emphasis. Since the speech was given orally, the repetition also helps the audience comprehend his points. It is often more difficult to just hear information than it is to read or have visual aid, so the repetition helps the audience track with the speech and King's points, his main points. But back then, some African Americans, well, most African Americans did not have the education to understand what he was saying. They trusted Martin Luther King, but some things that he said, some African Americans didn't fully understand, but they had hope in him, and they believed that he will lead them in the right direction, and what he was saying made sense. So even though they didn't have that much education, still they listened and trusted that what he was saying was a good way, was a better way, is what the African American culture dreamed and hoped for America to be. Like I said, if you ask me, do I think that America has come to pass? I say no. But I believe that we have come a long way since then, not in years, but in progress, holding on to the progress that we have already attained. A lot of things are going on in the world, not just with COVID, but with the racism, with prejudice, and it's just so much going on in the world. But can you just focus your mind on something peaceful for a better America, for a better tomorrow? Just focus your mind on a better tomorrow. That's what I want you to do. Just focus your mind on a better tomorrow. What do you want tomorrow to basically be? What do you want it to feel like? What do you want to happen? Of course, we cannot see in tomorrow. We don't know what tomorrow is going to hold. We don't know where God is going to lead us. We don't know who is going to die tomorrow. We don't know what's next. But we can set goals for ourselves. We can have dreams for ourselves that I want this to happen next. But of course, things does not happen in our own time. God has control over everything. But what can you do today to make your dreams become a reality? What can you do today to make America be better for the generations that come after you? What can you do today? Don't just say, I'm going to do something tomorrow. What can you do today? A simple act such as, for example, a lot of churches are divided. Most of the time, majority of one church is African Americans. Then we go to another church. Majority of the members are white Americans. If the church is divided, where will we begin? If everything basically starts, the church is like an anchor for people. Religion is some people's anchor. What are you anchored in today? Or what Martin Luther King said, that he was anchored in the Lord. But what are you anchored in? What keeps you going day by day? I hope it's the Lord. But if you're not there yet, that's okay. But this dream, what is your dream? What is your hope that America will be like in the future? Thank you for tuning in to the Preferable Podcast, Season 2, Episode 20. I Have a Dream, Part 2. Please continue to share this podcast with other people. Follow me on my Instagram, which is I am Jayden Watkins. If you haven't, go order my book, Higher Heights, The Past is Behind Me and the Future is Before Me. And if you have a copy, I need you to go write a review. Go. Write your review on Amazon. You can write it on Target.com, anywhere you want to write it, but you can go to Amazon. I would love if you go to Amazon and write a review, but just write a review, please. And write a review on the podcast also. You can email me at jaydenwatkins@gmail.com for any episode recommendations, any topics that you want to be discussed on this podcast, or guests. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, I can have you to come on too. I would love to have you on. Or if you just want to share your opinion or viewpoint on something, you can come on too. This is the Preferable Podcast. I am your host, Jayden Watkins, saying I will and never stop making this world more preferable. God bless.